those part, but we only record the presentation portion, and then we'll stop recording when Dawn is done. So Dawn, from New Hampshire Legal Assistance, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I do not have slides. I was hoping to, I appreciate the little shout out we about our award. Thank you. Yeah, we had a big week. We got an award this week at the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits annual celebration. That was pretty awesome. I'm the policy director at New Hampshire Legal Assistance. And I'm not an attorney. I work with a bunch of amazing attorneys and paraprofessionals, and we serve low-income granite staters on a variety of civil legal issues for and a lot of which really impact their basic needs, public benefits being one of them, but as well as, housing, domestic violence, and utility work, youth law. Like we really kind of have a lot of different projects and areas that we touch on. But today I'm going to specifically focus on the public benefits work that we do, and in particular, the end of the public health emergency and what that might mean for folks. And I'll try to make it pretty brief and see if there are questions that folks might have. I will do my best to answer them, or I will get you an answer if I don't have one. So I did see that looking back, you had a presentation on this topic, or at least on the Medicaid piece of the end of the public health emergency. I mean, nearly a year ago, it'll be a year in June, from Lucy Hodder and Deb Fournier from the Institute of Health Law and Policy, or I'm not sure I got that right. But and I would say it's probably a good time to hear from them again, like in the next month or so, because I think what I'm about to talk about is that there's some expectation or speculation that the federal public health emergency will end July 16th. That is not official. It could change, just like everything with COVID, there always changes. But we're kind of planning and starting to plan and prepare for the fact that that's a possibility. We will know whether or not that's the case in a few weeks. So, I mean, we're kind of operating a little bit in a vacuum right now, but the federal government has given states a commitment of giving them 60 days notice prior to the end of the public health emergency. So that would be mid-May. So hopefully by mid-May, we'll know if we're dealing with the July 16th end date, or if it's going to be extended further, etc. But today I'm going to kind of operate under the assumption that it's ending July 16th. And I'm going to talk about what we'll see happening as it ends related to public benefits. So the biggest chunk of change that we'll see is related to Medicaid. There are about 87,000 people that are currently on Medicaid that will have to redetermine their eligibility at the end of the public health emergency. These are department numbers as of I think April 11th, but currently those 87,000 people are being protected from losing coverage during the public health emergency, but when that ends, they'll have to redetermine or reconfirm that they are still eligible. But 60,000 of those 87,000 are overdue for their redetermination, and 27,000 are what they're considering pending ineligible, which means that the department has some sort of information publicly available that they are over income, or they've aged out of the program, or they moved, or a number of factors. So those 27,000 So the 60,000 people will have to redetermine their eligibility for sure. And the 27,000 people will have to, could lose coverage as early as August 1st, if the public health emergency ends July 16th. The state can start sending notices. They've already started sending notices to folks to renew. They call it their pink letter campaign. You can see all the information on their website about it. Asking folks to go ahead and do what they can to redetermine their eligibility now, so that we're not, so that 87,000 people aren't like all trying to do it at once. So that's an active effort that folks can, participate in now. I know that a lot of providers are getting their patient information from the department about who needs to be redetermined. And I know that folks are already working on that. So, but there will be, tens of thousands of people who will have to redetermine their eligibility in a short window. The state has actually 12 to even 14 months to redetermine everyone's eligibility, but there are some that they have some decisions to make about how they're going to go about redetermining it. But my understanding is that, there are some populations that they're starting with, like right now they're working on families with kids and older adults, and doing kind of proactive calls to beneficiaries. And but they can start before the public health emergency ends, sending notices saying you need to provide these documents or your coverage will end at the end of the public health emergency. And and then as of July 16th, they can send a notice that's essentially saying, like, if we don't hear from you in the next 10 days, your coverage will end August 1st, or actually July 31st. And so the first month without coverage would be August 1st. So the department will most likely, and CMS has encouraged the states to kind of do it in chunks, not to try to do everyone in overnight. So they're looking at doing I think that the number that CMS gave the states was 1/9 of their population each month. So we don't have all those details yet. The state has to provide a plan to CMS, the federal agency in charge of this program, 45 days prior to the end of the public health emergency. So a lot of the details will kind of be coming fast and furious as soon as we know when the public health emergency is ending. And that 60 days notice will be, just kind of full of activity. So let's see. I talked about their decisions. Oh, the reason that the department needs or wants to expedite folks, not necessarily take the whole 12 months, is that the state's been getting increased payment from the federal government during the public health emergency for keeping these folks enrolled. So that ends at the end of the quarter that the public health emergency ends. So that would be, if it ends July 16th, that would be September 30th. So after September 30th, they'll no longer be getting the extra dollars that they're getting now to keep people enrolled. So it kind of puts some budget pressure on the department. And the other thing, in addition to the pink letter, I guess I should say, it's always a good idea, but they're especially making a push to have people update their addresses, their contact information, et cetera, so that they get, when it's time to get their renewal notice, they're getting it in the right place and all of that. So I think that that's kind of the quick part or quick rundown of what to expect with Medicaid, but I'll also spend a few minutes on SNAP, which is formerly food stamps, and TANF, which is cash assistance. There are other programs as well, obviously, that we'll see changes in, but these are the biggest ones that impact, most low-income granite staters. So the other thing that ends at the end of the public health emergency is the emergency allotments that folks have been getting in addition to their normal SNAP benefits. Everyone during the emergency has gotten these enhanced benefits. And those will end the month following the end of the public health emergency. And so again, if it ends July 16th, we would, I think it's that we would have, there's a little bit of nuances here because there's also a state emergency, but let's just say for like kind of planning purposes, that August would probably be the last month that people will get those enhanced benefits. And it's not an insignificant amount of money that folks have been relying on, and will be particularly difficult given recent inflation and all costs related to life, but especially groceries and things like that. So the average loss or decrease in benefits is $82 a month. But for folks that are on the minimum, that are the minimum beneficiaries, like a lot of, for example, older adults who are enrolled in the program, you might have heard sometimes that they used to get $20 a month for benefits. That was the minimum amount. They're going to go back to $20 a month, but during the pandemic, they've been getting $250 a month. So it's a huge impact on about 27,600 households. And it's about at least, it varies from month to month, but the last time I checked, it was like $5.4 million in the state of New Hampshire for a month of the SNAP emergency allotment. So it's also an economic impact as well. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was TANF cash assistance. They didn't get a monthly, families that rely on that program did not get a monthly bump, but instead the agency decided to do like a one-time payment. And they timed it for around when they thought the public health emergency, closer to when the public health emergency ends and people might be experiencing these shifts in benefits. So it actually went out last week, April 15th. Families on TANF received $800 per kid for an additional cash assistance for a one-time bump to help them hopefully manage the cliff ahead. So I'll stop there and just see, those are kind of the highlights, and see if anyone has any questions or if you have other information you want to add to the mix that we should, that I didn't touch on, feel free to do that as well. I can't see anyone either. So
yeah, so thank you, Dawn. So if anyone has questions, just feel free to come on off mute and ask your question, or as always, if you're more comfortable, you can put it in the chat and we'll keep an eye on that. Does anyone have questions? Abhimana? Yep.
Thank you for giving us the situation of the benefit of our low-income families. Do you have a specific for the city of Nashua in terms of how many families are getting those in the 87,000 and 65,000 and 27,000?
That's a great question. There is the state has released the number by county. I'm not 100% sure if they've done it by town yet, but I could follow up and see if I could get that and to Kirsten, and she could share it in a follow-up email if that would work. But it's significant. Obviously, Nashua and Manchester always have because there are population centers, they really have usually a lot of folks that rely on these programs.
Thank you. If it's possible, can we get like that letter that the state will be sending to the population, and we can relay that information to people we know who are in that situation?
Yes. That information is actually the notice itself is posted on the website. I'll put a link to it in the chat if that's okay. And then you'll be able to see what it would look like if someone received it. And the thing that they're using to really draw attention is the fact that the piece of paper is pink, which seems very simple, but like it's, people get all kinds of mail and all kinds of notices from the department about all types of things. And so the pink is meant to stand out. And if someone has a pink notice, that's like a sign that they need to do something. So
another question. I think the state does know that there are many people who do not understand English. When they receive their mail, they do not even know what is inside those mail. What the state is doing about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do think that the notice is in multiple languages, but I don't know for sure which languages. I will, during the rest of the call, I'll try to send a link to the information that's available on the department's website about the different languages as well. I don't know. I don't work for the department, so I don't know for sure what languages they've made it readily available in. I do know it's an issue.
John, I think I don't work for that department either, but we do have some people. I think, I'm not sure if Anela is with us, but there should always be the ability for people to, at the very least, call in and have a live interpreter so if they have to make a call to the department to have a conversation about how this is going to impact them. I don't know, but we can find out what languages they've also translated the written documents into. And I don't know if Anela is with us. She may have some information. Anela, are you here, or anyone from OHE?
I'm
No.
here, Joan, but
Oh,
I don't
Joan's
have
here.
that
Hi, Joan.
information. And I think it may have been translated in Spanish, but I think contacting Amy Newberry or Alyssa Cohen and finding out from them what has been done. And I think reviewing the letter over the phone with an over the phone interpreter is a great way to have someone interpret that information and clarify the questions any individual may have.
I think when I talk to them, to call that number on phone, it's not easy. It's not easy to call the number, to talk on phone for most of them. Thank you.
I agree. I definitely hear your concerns. I did check and I put the link to the pink notice in the chat. And I did see online that it's only currently available in English and Spanish on the website. And I agree that sometimes calling is difficult for a lot of reasons, but obviously language being one of them. I would also just like to say that as we get to the end of the public health emergency, I should offer our services as well. In if folks are denied, or terminated, or see their benefits, think a mistake has been made, they can always contact us for assistance, and they can appeal any decisions made by the department. So they would go to 603 Legal Aid to apply. I'll put that website in the chat as well. So.
And Abhiman, this is Rick Menard from Building Community in New Hampshire. I'll make sure that Erica Urquiza and Joyce Quizera, who are our case managers who work with the Congolese community in Nashua, are ready to give good advice to people, and they often help with mail and bills and other complicated challenges like that. So I'll make sure that they're ready to be helpful.
Who is working with the community in Nashua? Can we have his name?
Sure, I'll put it in the text.
Okay, thank you.
We can also do some follow-up on this end to see why they have not translated that document into multiple languages, and I'll check in to see too if we can maybe use some of the funding we've used for translating documents for COVID into maybe getting that done if possible, considering it is very COVID tied, the end of the declaration. So no promises, but I'll see if I can follow up and see if we can make any inroads on that.
I will,
There
To
is
finish-
one
to
other,
fin-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
To finish up, is it possible for our next meeting to have someone from DHHS here with us? So
Well, we have a lot of people from DHHS here with us, but are you talking about someone specific to this issue?
yeah, when we are
Yeah.
asking question about the DHHS, they could help us give more light.
Yeah, we can definitely invite somebody who might be able to answer those questions. So we'll find the right person. I'm not sure who it is. I think Joan knows who it is. And we'll find the right person and invite them to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Yep.
the last thing, Kirsten, could I just add in the chat? I'm going to put a list of the New Hampshire navigators, because the other piece is folks that aren't eligible for Medicaid any longer will be able to enroll in the marketplace, and there are premium tax credits available for low income folks who are maybe above the Medicaid threshold, but can't afford coverage on the private market without assistance. So I will say that the navigators are like going and ready and doing a lot of work on the ground right now already. I just put their contact info in the chat. And I will say they have a lot of different languages represented on their staff. So who can assist people, and they can assist people in their Medicaid redetermination if they're Medicaid eligible. And then if they're not Medicaid eligible, they'll help them find another insurance plan.
And we had a presentation several meetings ago about the navigators as well. So that's a great reminder. I'm scanning the chat. If you just hang on, Dawn, I think I saw a hand up and now I can't locate it.
Good.
MK?
Ah, yes, go ahead. Okay.
Hi. Yeah, no, just on the translation front, but it sounds like you might have that covered. I know Grace Kandecki at MCAC works with a lot of different communities. Now, if it's like medical specific terminology, I'm not just gonna like say they can do that, but for translation needs, I know she has a lot of connections there.
That's a great resource, great resource as well. Thank you. Dawn, there's also a question about, is there a sort of like a cheat sheet for all the changes that are coming? Like, is there anything where all the information is consolidated?
There's, that's a great suggestion. And I think the same thing happened the last time I presented this group. It was a good reminder or catalyst for us to put something together. So I'll put something together. I actually told Melissa I would do an article for the newsletter as well. And I can put all of this information into that if that's helpful.
That would be great. Yeah, that would be outstanding.
One other thing about the SNAP. I forgot to say this about the SNAP emergency allotments. When people are renewing their benefits, particularly pay attention to things like different deductions that people can take when they're providing, like the department puts together basically a budget and they take different deductions to see if, when you qualify for benefits. And it includes things like rent, utility costs, childcare, child support, medical cost, if you're 60 or over or disabled. So that was one other important piece that we wanted to remind folks, when things start to get ratcheted down, it's sometimes helpful to just revisit even what they have on file for you. And if they've, adequately done all the deductions that you're eligible for and everything.
Hi, this is Debbie Appavalla. I do have one concern. The disability community and Medicaid, they get their renewal yearly and it didn't stop. So that if you have community members who are getting their Medicaid through either Katie Beckett or for a family member that is disabled, that they should really pay attention, not only to if they qualify for extra, but that renewal has been coming and that they answer that in a timely manner.
That's a great point.
Maria has her hand up.
Maria?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to ask the same thing. This is a lot of good information, but to try to like take it all in and try to take notes for the specific day and the specific things that we need to remind our communities or communicate to our communities is critical. So I would love to see a follow-up email or some kind of like, document that I can like remind us of what days and exactly what programs they ended or what programs we have to let the community know that it's going to be happening soon. So yeah, I would really appreciate it. We can have like a follow-up document after this meeting.
Absolutely. I will commit to that. And I've already got a good start on it based on preparing for this presentation. So I will get that to Melissa, early next week to send around to everyone.
Maria, that's a really good point, and that's why we started recording these topical presentations. And again, Dawn's not from the department. She's from New Hampshire Legal Assistance and, is advocating so that all of us can be informed, so we can also all advocate as needed and be informed. So in addition to this presentation, it sounds like we're talking about trying to find the right person from the Department of Health and Human Services who administers all these programs to also come give an update from their perspective. So we'll get the various angles so we can all be as fully informed as possible. And Dawn, thank you for putting the links in the chat that we'll also summarize and send out afterwards for where to get information on the department's website about some of these changes you've mentioned. And then we'll send out the link to the recording in a little bit when we have it available.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Dawn, thank you so much. I think you clearly piqued people's interest. And I know that we've all over the last couple of years really worked hard to manage all these changes as they roll in really quickly and often without a lot of advance warning. So this is really helpful to hear this information. And I think Joan had put the name of the contact person at DHHS in the chat. So we'll follow up with them and see if we can get them to come and join us at our next meeting. And also, Joan, would you mind, if you have it handy, I can find it and put it, but if you have it handy, Joan, would you mind putting Anella's email in the chat? Anella's usually with us, but Anella is the Communication Access Coordinator for DHHS. And if there is anyone who's having trouble related to communication access, Anella is a person they can reach out to as well. So it would be good for everyone to have Anella's contact information. If Joan, I don't know if you have it, if you could drop it in the chat. Joan and Anella are colleagues. That's what I'm thinking. She might have it quickly. If not, I'll find it in my email and drop it in there. Let's see. I just had one. I just want to make sure before I ask my question if anyone else has their hand up or any other questions. I don't see anyone. Dawn, I just had a question, which is there any further implication with the federal emergency ending, that any other implication for unemployment for states, or is that purely a state function at this point?
At this point, all of the, unless, I'm scanning my brain. At this point, all of the enhanced benefits for unemployment have ended. So the unemployment, it goes back to kind of normal. Or it went back to normal a while ago. The biggest changes or issues in unemployment currently are related to overpayments. If there was a lot of confusion in the startup of the program and changes throughout the pandemic. And I would say we saw a huge increase in unemployment cases during the pandemic, and we're happy to assist folks on if they get a large overpayment demand from the department. We've been representing people in hearings on those cases as well, so they could reach out to 603 Legal Aid for that. But not any other unemployment related specific change that I will say on the policy side, just a little plug since I'm the policy person. We did kill and I'm sure some of you were following it and involved in it and helped us with it, but we were able to kill a bill that would have reduced the weeks of unemployment in New Hampshire from 26 to 12. That died in the legislature a couple weeks ago. So keep up the good work, because there's lots of challenging legislation still to be addressed, particularly related to things like Medicaid and SNAP and so forth.
Dawn, we do a policy update. It's coming up, I think next or almost next on the agenda. You're welcome to hang around if you want to contribute to that. It tends to be like a round robin of people who do policy work and jumping in with what they know and what they're working on. So we'd love to have you here.
Good segue.
Yeah. I think, thank you, Joan and Alia, for dropping Anella's email in the chat. That is a great contact if you know of people who are having difficulties related to communication access with the department. We get a lot of follow-up to do on this one, so we will do that work. I think that's it. We will move on. And on behalf of the group, let me thank you, Dawn, for your time and information. Incredibly handy right now.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so if we could